Ralf Rangnick, the man himself there, talking to the coach's voice a little earlier, and his appointment, which is, of course, the most fascinating appointment in English football since Antonio Conte 3 weeks ago. He has really got for our colleagues in the press up and running. Of course, it was an open secret, but still, people have got plenty to say about this. Even in the run-up to the appointment being confirmed, Ian Herbert in the Daily Mail, United recruit the professor, the coach who idolises Wenger and is Klopp's tactical mentor. And that's a very interesting thread there between those men that we'll come back to later. United's move for Rangnick, a response to Tuchel's revolution. Interim manager's revival has clearly been influenced by events at Chelsea. Barney Ronay said that on Friday in The Guardian, and on it went into the weekend. Wreck-It Ralph was Simon Mullock in the Sunday Mirror. Rangnick will tear everything up at United with a tough new training regime, diet plans, of course ketchup's on its way out, isn't it? Blood tests, and Ronaldo could have to... How did it get back in? Surely the previous manager also banned it, and Ronaldo could have to ditch his fast cars, says Simon. Rob Draper in the Mail on Sunday, he wouldn't sign Ronaldo, avoids picking tattooed players and falls out with owners, but Rangnick is still the man for United. And finally, Jonathan Wilson in The Observer, Rangnick's arrival signals a shift from Messiah fix to a modern vision of the game. And Shaun, I think that's been one of the most fascinating things I've found in the press over the last couple of days, is that let's be honest, unless you're a football nerd like me, Ralf Rangnick is a name you've probably had rattling around in your head, but what does he do? And we'll come on to that a little bit later. Suddenly, he's the cure for all Manchester United's ills as they move from one kind of getting celebrity managers, if you like, to somebody who has worked largely, not entirely, but in the background.
Dan, when you're next hosting the Hipsters AGM, which can't be far around the corner, you lot will be salivating over him all night.
I already am.
The only man on the agenda. I'm amazed English football's missed him for his 63 years, because previously nobody had really talked about him being manager of anywhere. And also, if he's this good, and I'm not disputing it, everybody tells me how brilliant he is, why is he only coming on a 6-month interim contract? Because everybody say fantastic appointment. All the hipsters, the Gegenpress fans, all of that. Yes, this is the man. About time. Man United made a brilliant appointment, long overdue, etc., etc., etc. All right then, give him the job.
Well, you see, you're pressing there on a bruise actually, because I have no doubt that if he does well, that's exactly what people will be starting to campaign for.
Of course.
Now, to be fair, Shaun, to him, he has done successful managing, but then, of course, the last few years, he's been more employed by people to make sure that their philosophy was right from top to bottom, whether it's across a group, the RB group, across the globe, or in Russia, they just wanted Zenit to be, all the teams to play the same way, from the kids of 11 up to the first team and all the rest of it. We'll hear a little later. Last night on Trans-Europe Express, I asked Kevin Hatchard, of course, who works in the Bundesliga, to tell me all about Ralf Rangnick. And later on in the programme, we'll hear. I asked him one question, Shaun. Tell us about this fella. He spoke for 11 minutes without breathing. It was like Frank Sinatra, circular breathing.
But do you take that point, Dan? That why hasn't he been at the top clubs, Spain, Italy, England? Why not?
Even Germany.
Quite good point.
And the answer is I don't know. The biggest club in which he's managed, if you take Leipzig out of it, because they were a small club that they helped to make big, is Schalke, who we won the Pokal, the FA Cup with in Germany. But when he left, they became a basket case. They're now relegated. I don't know the answer to that question, Shaun. Why has he not been at the big clubs? Because I guess my counter argument would be there's been lots of really useless managers at big clubs as well, haven't they? They put people who are good players or who fluke to win in one tournament or other into their clubs and then regret it 20 minutes later. Matt, you're a person who I'm sure Shaun wouldn't accuse you of being a hipster, but
no, I wouldn't. Too old, too boring.
Oh, no, come on.
He doesn't even like tactics, Matt.
Well, we better get Jonathan Wilson back then, hadn't we, for this? And Matt, has he crossed your transom much in the last few years?
It's funny because, and this is a bit of a, I don't mean to make this about me, but a bit of a journalistic confession because...
Hang on, you'll be in good company on this show,
trust me. I know. But no, a few weeks ago, because I've been covering the Newcastle takeover stuff, and I'd been one of the journalists that had gone up there, and I'd spoken to Staveley and all that kind of stuff. I got contacted by somebody claiming to have a connection to Rangnick, and the call to me was, did I have any idea? And it's a fair question in the circumstances. Did I have any idea who the hell you speak to at Newcastle if you want to be the manager? Because they weren't sure if it was the PIF, the Saudis, if it was the Staveley gang, if it was Danny Reuben,
Shaun Custis,
or if it was Shaun Custis,
or Mohammed bin Salman,
or Owen Brown, or Frank McParland, or whoever, and there was confusion. And I must admit, during that call, at the end of that call, I put it down and just thought, they're wasting their time. He's got no chance. Ralph Rangnick's not going to be the next Newcastle manager. Then last week,
correct.
Last week, I then did actually speak to a contact who's normally quite good on Man United stuff, who said to me last Monday, Rangnick, and I was like, nah. I did mention it to the desk, but we did nothing with it, and I was just a man. I was in a world of pain. 3 days later, I was like, "Oh my God!" Someone actually tipped me off about that. But I think that was really a measure. Now that's a measure of two things: my lack of knowledge of German football, but also that I'm with Shaun on this, Dan. If he was so amazing, and I'm not disputing that he's no. To me, he sounds like he's Germany's answer to Roy Hodgson. He's sort of that sort of coaching guru-y, UEFA-y coaching sort of expert that sounds like he's a very good communicator, very good teacher. We know that Thomas Tuchel sort of was given his first coaching chance under him, stuff like that. So clearly he's got something about him. And actually, maybe United are very smart in that when he has this role at the end of this 6 months, this sort of 2-year role, consultancy role, that he could be really effective.
Do you really think that'll happen, though? If he's been a disaster, let's say he's been a disaster, do you really think there's going to be much mileage in him being a 2-year consultant? And if he's a mega success, let's say he wins his next 20 games, are you really going to bump him upstairs for a 2-year consultancy?
Yeah. No, that is a very fair point. Now, the one thing, I guess, they haven't yet appointed the next actual long-term manager, but then you'd think they must have that in mind, because if we remember, it was actually in the very first statement they made when Solskjaer went that they actually said then it's the next manager will be an interim manager, because they clearly do think, and we all have an idea of who it might be, they clearly do think that they're getting somebody in the summer. But it's a slightly perplexing situation, I think.
Well, I think the appointment is odd for the 6 months within 2 years tacked on in a different job. How he'll get on as the manager, I know what he did at those small German clubs. And just think about this very quickly. We'll get on to Kevin's views about it in a second. What he did was to confront the problem in Germany that somebody had to take on teams with massively more resource than you, particularly Bayern Munich. And with Wenger's absolute insistence on detail, he said, right, we need to do this and we need to work and press and win the ball higher up. He infected the rest of Germany with this, and indeed, indeed Bayern Munich. And if you remember that amazing Champions League game about 6 years ago, where Bayern Munich pressed Barcelona to death, and you thought, there's Rangnick. That's what he's brought to it. Now, imagine if he can do that underdog pressing thing that he didn't invent, but perfected in Germany with a group of really expensive and good players like at Manchester United. That could be a deadly combination. And